I just done the coolest intro ever,
You
and
just said
nobody
all the nice things.
in the world heard it. Anyway, Ben Sheets, Jason Duby, what are you guys doing? Someone's got to mention, hey, your mic's off, dummy.
Hey, I don't know how to work your equipment.
Well, that's true too.
Green
But anyway,
means go.
like I was saying, we're in the only cool place at Automotive, not only because we're here, but because it is air conditioned. I wanted to set you guys down and just talk kind of the state of coon hunting media, because I thought it's pretty good, because you got Ben out east, you got you out west, you got me right smack dab in the middle of the country. We kind of got three demographics that we're selling our media to. And I mean, don't get me wrong, we are selling media. That's what we all do.
For sure.
But Ben, we're out in Pennsylvania, or you? I always forget.
All the way to the eastern part of Pennsylvania. Like,
okay, so you're about as far east in Pennsylvania as you can get.
Pretty much.
1 mile, right?
Like, I live 20 minutes from the state of Delaware.
Okay. Oh my gosh, that sounds horrible.
Just happened to be where I live. It's not a great place to coon hunt, that's for sure.
And we got Jason Duby from Oregon.
Yeah.
We're at in Oregon.
Grants Pass area,
Where's
down
that
south. We're about 50 miles north of the California border.
And as you guys know,
You think Delaware sounds horrible?
yeah, that sounds horrible. Yeah, they both sound horrible. Not gonna lie, but I think hippies. Every time you guys tell me where you're from, I'm like, you got to be surrounded by hippies.
Oh yeah, we got a bunch of
Yeah,
hippies.
I bet you
But they're
are.
redneck hippies. They're
No, the
different.
good hippies.
They're good
I love
hippies.
good
They
hippies.
like guns.
They love
too.
everybody.
Yeah, they love
free
everybody,
speech and
everything.
the
They
Second
go
Amendment,
stuff,
all that
and then
stuff.
they carry guns.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I like those hippies. You got the bad hippies.
Yeah, I got the yuppies.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call them hippies.
we
They're
call them
yuppies.
Trustafarians, where we're at. They send all the rejects out to Oregon.
But how different is it? Which I know I haven't visited either one of your places, but when I listen to like your podcast, or I read the pages of Full Cry, or I listen to your guys' podcast, the guests are, you might as well be speaking to someone on another planet than from what I'm used to. You know, I mean, so, but that's normal for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, say, Ben, starting with you, your guests, what are you looking for when you're like, you know, I want to do a podcast with this guy?
So you focus a lot on your competition guys, especially the upper level of competition. I talk to a lot of pleasure hunters, a lot of big game hunters, a lot of squirrel hunters, you know, because that's what I am. Like, I've run squirrel dogs, I pleasure coon hunt, and if I could be a bear hunter, I would. And it's just because I don't live in Virginia or West Virginia.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I don't have bear dogs. But, so it's just people that I find interesting.
Yeah.
Same with you. That's your audience is people you find interesting.
Yeah. And
So,
you're
same
not
thing.
necessarily looking for the most downloads, the most
No.
popular,
Nope.
you know, someone's really going to love this. We're going to get Norman Starling on here and it's going to
No.
blow up. You're looking at something that interests you.
Yeah.
And Jason, I assume you're doing the same thing pretty much.
I mean, I kind of got unfair advantage because we got so many customers.
Yeah.
At W.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and the contacts. I mean, really, it's to me. I want to talk to guys that I find interesting or topics because, like, with us being on the West Coast, like this is all totally Greek to most of us. Most guys don't take the trip out, or you know, where we were kind of rooted when we had blue dogs. We were doing a little competition hunting, but nothing like out here, you know. So to me, it's just guys. I try to go with guys that I connect with, you know, because the way I look at it, it's like if you're going to do something, if you're going to write or you're going to do a podcast and you're not enjoying it, it comes through. Like, you know, the podcast that like people really enjoy.
Yeah.
I did one with Elijah Keller out of Michigan. And somebody messaged me and they said, "Oh, you finally got on somebody that likes you." You know, because it was a good podcast. And it's just, I would prefer to talk to somebody who nobody else knows, but can have a good time, and you know, because everybody can learn something from everybody.
Yeah.
Even if it's what not to do. You know, a lot of people like, I'd never do that, but I think it's good. You know, and I try to hit all over. But you know, a lot of my customers are big game guys, so we do a lot of that stuff.
Well, I know, like when I first started with Houndsman XP, and everybody raved about my first 10 or 12 podcasts, 15 podcasts or something like that, and they were great.
You used
and
to
they
be
were
really
awesome.
good.
Yeah, I know. I used to be good at this, but I would only do people that I knew really well.
Yeah.
But that's
You know,
why
it's
so
really good.
I can sit down at Jess Dickerson's table with Jess. I know his whole line of dogs. I've hunted with him and I've been around him for 20 years. You know, same with Kurt, and Michael Ward, Jason Doherty, and all these guys that everyone's like, man, you do the best. But I really know those guys. I know what questions to ask. I know how to talk to them.
Well, knowing how to pull the story out of somebody, you got to know how to get there.
Yeah.
And it's,
But then you run into the situation where I only know so many people.
Yeah.
You know, eventually you're going to have to change up your modus operandi or whatever they call that. I need to quit speaking Latin now. But I think it's Latin, but it might be Greek. I don't know.
Latin.
Yeah,
Something.
pig Latin. But anyway, we got to kind of mix up how we do things and still bring entertaining content and all that stuff because you can't. I made the first part of my career doing real top handlers that I'm super familiar with. It's a pretty limited pool of guys. That's 20, 25 guys total.
Yeah, you're 1%.
Yes,
small.
exactly. And so are you guys finding struggles, making good content as you've been doing it? Because how long have you been doing it?
2.5 years.
Yeah. Because you probably a little bit before me, right about the same time.
We're about
maybe.
4,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, because really that's when the podcast boom, which is still going. You see a new one pop up every week.
Oh yeah,
There's so
Just
many
yeah.
of them now. Yeah.
And
it's hard
so
to keep up.
how long is it before you guys kind of had to switch it up a little bit, or did you ever?
I don't want to say I've switched it, but you're definitely hunting for original good guests. And I tell you what, honestly, some of the best ones have been just people saying, "Hey, you should talk to this guy."
Yeah.
That's honestly some of the best ones I've had this week. It was a really good one. I've gotten a lot of compliments on it, and it's been kind of controversial. I had some people that was, "Hey, I don't like that guy." Well, like everything, controversy's good. So
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
That's the bad thing is half the handlers I interviewed nobody liked.
Yeah.
They got beat.
But a lot of it is because they don't know him.
Yeah.
A lot of them guys like Jed. We just had Jacob Morgan say we need more Jed Finley on the podcast. Everybody hated Jed's guts, except for me and like a select 3 people.
he's entertaining though.
But once they got to know him, because me and Jed could sit down, we've been best friends for over a decade.
Right.
We could sit down in an intimate setting and I could talk to him like he's my stepson. And then he can tell me I'm an idiot and they see, the real person behind that. And then they can relate a little bit. So I told Jed that the only reason anybody likes him is because of me, which is still to this case. You got Jacob Gamble sitting here. He said he'd like to see more from Keith Medley. That's another guy that's a great podcast, and I think Coon Hunting University did one with him.
Yeah.
But we can only do the same guy so many times.
It's hard.
you
It's
know?
getting really
Yeah,
for
it is
me.
getting-
I'll be honest. It's getting hard.
Yeah.
Because it's the people that are on. It's great content, but I've talked to a bunch of them. They're tired of doing them too. Like I hate saying that, but I've talked to people that they're like, "Oh, I won't do another one."
Yeah.
But it's like, the thing is they get burned out, but they got new stories between then and now.
Right.
So I think like the interview structure, I've tried to go away from a lot. Like
Go more
maybe topic conversations,
Right.
or like I said, for me, like Elijah, or if I get a buddy on, it's way easier.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
We're just
Oh,
catching up on dogs and
Yeah.
kids and family.
That's just like us 3 sitting here. It ain't like I wrote a script.
Right.
I didn't even know what we was going to talk about.
I didn't know this
I'm
was
just-
live.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's fine. It's live.
He thought
It's
we were on a
live.
podcast, and I was like, "Nah, we're doing a live stream."
Yeah, I thought it was a podcast.
No, we're live streaming.
Perfect. Thanks for the heads up.
Yeah. Well, I just had Chip here, and he made it without offending too many people, I think. So I thought
That's
you guys
pretty
would
good.
probably
It
be
is.
okay.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, the conglomerate that you guys got going on, you're gonna have to help me. I got brain freeze.
What are we calling it?
Oh, the God, man, you're gonna do that.
We can't. Neither one of us can remember. Where's your wife when we need her?
I know. I need Danny on
Yeah.
here right now.
Um,
The hound
Working
hunting.
dog.
no,
Yeah, we're totally sucking this.
we
up.
are. You should have. This is why you
Why
should
did
have given
not
us some
put
notes
or
here.
something on here?
Well, I was good. I assumed you guys knew
Please
I was going to
hold.
bring that up.
The Working Dog Media.
Working Dog
Alliance.
Media
Yes.
Alliance.
I didn't
yes.
look it up. Fine.
Good job.
WDMA.
Yeah.
So yes, what do you guys got going on with that and the
Um,
basis behind that and all that stuff?
It's in its infancy.
Mhm.
Basically,
Obviously, we
There,
can't
yeah,
remember the name.
we got to remember the name.
We're still trying to get some like structure to it, like some
Yeah.
bylaws. We've kind of got a little board set up. We have a meeting within the next couple weeks.
When's
Trying
our
to,
meeting?
it's supposed to be next Tuesday. But
Let's
that's
decide. Let's
one of the
decide
board
on
members
name
is
at
still
that
in
meeting.
Hawaii, so I don't know when he gets back. So
Get him back.
we got to figure that out. But once we get the board all together and we have a meeting, we're going to actually get some bylaws and structure, and then we're going to start trying to push some more of that out.
Because what a lot of people don't understand is that we all get along.
Yeah.
When a new podcast pops up, I'm just like, oh man, don't listen to them or anything
No,
like
it's-
that, or a new video YouTube channel, whatever.
It ain't like Walker versus
Yeah.
Blue Tick versus.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, it's definitely not.
But
And so-
it's. I mean, the goal of it is hounds have been really underrepresented.
Yeah.
I feel like in
Yeah.
the media, except in our groups, you know,
Right.
like in our
Yeah.
niche, it is. But
Jacob Morgan says you should call it the group to be named later.
the group to be, I like that. Yeah. No, we spent like 3 days trying to figure out a name for it.
Yeah.
Now we can't even remember.
That was my first YouTube series
The
deal. Was the
show
show
to
to
be
be
named
named later?
later.
Yeah. We had some, but my camera work sucked. Ben told me, he's like, you suck. So one thing about Ben, I can always, he's
At least
very
he's
good
honest.
constructive criticism, but it's not real constructive. It's just criticism.
Hey, if you ask for some if you say why does it suck, I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
You just gotta ask why.
Half the time I don't ask you, still tell me why.
Well, that part's free. The rest of it
the
costs
rest
you.
is constructive.
But
No,
yeah,
we'll get-
to bring, I
Yeah.
mean, like what you guys got going on with Cane
Yeah.
Stream,
Yeah.
you know, Full Cry, Tree
Mhm.
Talking. It's like, no, we're all like kind of running our own race,
Yeah.
but a place where we can all come together and not, I don't want to say piggyback, but like the bird dog world, those guys have been in professional media for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where hounds, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, you were telling the story earlier. Ben and I were talking about a magazine before we bought Full Cry,
Yep.
you know, and a vision
Yeah.
for it and a professionalism. And
I
then
want-
this kind of happened.
I
you
want
know,
to talk
with
about
Hell.
Full Cry too, because print media is not dead.
No.
No.
You know, it's not dead. And I think that what you guys have done with Full Cry you've successfully brought a lower generation, a younger generation into print media. Whereas,
Mhm.
you know, I was around it. I still remember waiting on a Full Cry, Coon Bloodlines, American Cooner to
Right.
come, you know, check the mailbox every day. It's got to be here any minute type deal.
Right.
Yep.
But kids that are younger than me, even Ben's age, what have you been? 20,
34.
Huh?
34.
34? Well, you look better than 34. But you figure the mid-20s guys, they've never witnessed any of that. They never had that. You
No.
know, from the time they were old enough to remember what, you know,
all
media
right.
was, it was all right there on their
Yeah.
cell phone. It was all on the
Yep.
computer. But you guys are bringing some of that back through both nostalgia and quality content. I think you're doing a real good job of capturing the history plus modernizing everything
Thank you.
and making it worth reading. Because don't get me wrong, whenever you screwed me out of the first subscription, you know, I got the first catalog magazine. Oh yeah, that's pretty neat. Well, a couple days later, I actually sat down and read it,
Right.
and I was like, huh, this is actually pretty good. And
Well,
now it's
good to
actually
hear.
it's actually
It's a
something.
great word.
Well, because you know, I was anti-print media. Here I am. I'm doing a YouTube channel. I'm doing
Mhm.
you know all the stuff that I'm doing. I'm thinking that's kind of dead stuff.
Yeah.
But then I get it, and I see the quality that it's got and how you guys have structured it through the writing, the advertisements, everything. You know, I love seeing. I'm still at that age where I still love seeing stud dog ads. I still
Yep.
love seeing
Right.
product ads, stuff like that, where it's not popping up on my Facebook feed. I can actually just turn the page real quick, and I don't have to hit an X if I
Yep.
don't want to look at it. You know. And so, was that kind of your idea whenever you got it?
Yeah. I mean, that was the plan. And,
Yeah.
you know, she's the driving force.
Obviously,
behind it.
yeah,
I mean,
brains of
she's
the
the
operation.
smart
Yeah.
one.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just the talker. But it's like she really wanted to do a professional level,
Yes.
you know, something that, like, our hopes are, yes, this is in tribute to our heritage and trying to tie all that in, but at the same time, it's hard to break out on the socials, you know, in the digital world and be found. Where like this, we're really hoping to keep it going to where it's crossing the borders, right? Like you're getting into people that might not be hound people, but they're not antis. It's like, you know, it's a big thing for us to try to bridge that gap and prove that like hounds are professional. Same thing you're doing, right? Like elevate things to where like we're not the redheaded stepchildren. People don't spout off falsities because they don't know. They actually, like, you have everything right there. You have resources. And that's been the vision. But the big one was we did not want to lose the heritage because it's been around since 1939. But finding that balance, and that's what I'm really happy with what she's done, and our designer, Jaron, doing that and keeping it vintage feel, but professional level.
Well, your writers, your photographers, things like that. You know, just like we did with the Super Hunt. We wanted a super professional quality product, and you got to go outside of yourself every now and then. We bring Ben down there because he does such a fantastic job, and I knew he was going to be easy to work with, other than him screaming at me all the time.
I only screamed at you like
Is the mic- is
twice.
the mic
Like
still
twice.
on? Or is
Here
that
I
mic
am,
turned
here
off
I am
again?
running this whole thing. Ben's like, "What are you doing?" I'm sorry. Which is good. I actually like that, because you get sometimes, say I hire a photographer that comes down there, and the reason I hire Ben is because I think he's going to show me something that I'm not seeing. He's going to be able to do something that I'm not seeing and make it a better product.
Mhm.
And you guys have done that same thing. You got Ben doing some pictures. You got him writing. You've got really good articles in there and stuff like that. And so I think you guys have done a really good job. I have a bad habit, as everybody that knows me, that I want to do it my way. I'll do it by myself. I'll do it, and I lack some of that stuff. So I got to recognize it. We did that at the Super Hunt.
Yep.
You did that with Full Cry. So
Nah, they've done a phenomenal job. I've been blown away by it.
yeah,
No, I really have. Like,
No,
like I said, we
Thank
literally
you,
had
guys.
this conversation. Like I was telling somebody earlier,
It was like
a year before they bought it, and I said, we as houndsmen need a professional magazine, like a gun dog.
Yeah.
We don't have anything. You know, that's not what Bloodlines is. That is, and it's not going to be that, because
No.
because
The
it's
Bloodlines is what it is.
it is
Yeah.
it's
Oh, it
UKC
has
publication,
been.
and that's fine. It is what it is. But I'm like, we need something else, and Full Cry and Cooner just weren't that.
yeah,
And when the doors closed and then they ended up picking it up, I was excited, because I was like, because I knew exactly what we had talked about, so I kind of had it in the
We
back
had a
of my mind,
roadmap already, really.
like what they had already.
yeah. But still, as a Western big game guy, and yeah, you're fairly familiar with this world and the squirrel hunting world and the running dog world and stuff like that. But you're no professional. That's kind of out of your realm. But
Yeah.
you've still managed to capture all that stuff through, getting the right writers.
It's our supporters.
Yeah.
I mean, really, our writers, our photographers. I mean, and most of it's just submissions.
Yeah.
But we definitely, I mean, the hardest part was having to move past a point where you were just printing whatever came in.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that happened a lot.
That happened
before
a
they
lot.
closed.
In Full Cry, as I was growing older, we got them all. We got Full Cry, American Cooner, Coonhound Bloodlines, and then the Pro Hound was always just who won what. There wasn't
Right.
much in Pro Hound ever. But Full Cry was always the last one I would look at. It was mostly squirrel dogs. It was mostly stuff that I wasn't as interested in. And there was no coon hunting. I mean, there for a long time, there would be no coon hounds in
Well,
it.
you figure they owned Cooner and
Right.
Full Cry, so
it made
they
it
pushed
made
all
sense
the
for
coon hunting.
What was it? CNH Publishing?
Yep,
CNH, yeah. And they Linda's still running the Hunter's Horn.
Yep.
And then when we called them, because they closed the doors, we called Terry and made a couple phone calls like, hey, you think you'd talk to me? And Danny says, let's buy it. I said, you're nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, we were getting ready to have a baby and
Yeah.
working full time. But it's been a huge blessing, and we've made a lot of good friends, contacts with a lot of good people. Her favorite part's the old men that call in.
Oh, I'm sure.
When John
I'm sure,
Monroe
yeah.
calls in, like that's she
John-
comes in my office, I'm working away, and she's like, it's John Monroe. What? It's John Monroe.
Oh, I could tell some John Monroe story. John only lives about 45 minutes.
I know she wanted me to go up and interview him, but it's just not going to happen.
Well, you do. Fly out. I'll take you over, introduce you to John. So
I'd
you would
love
love
to,
it.
man.
His
I would
place
love
is
to.
cool. He's still hunting.
Yeah.
He's still got a bunch of dogs. He's still pretty sharp, but he is fun in a cast.
Yeah.
But competitive and wants to win. And
Right.
it's just like my boy we was talking about the other day. He's been surrounded by professional coon hunters all his life. It's no big deal.
No big deal, right?
It's kind of like with John. We grew up next to him. We bought
Right.
dogs and traded dogs with him and stuff. If you had a dog you wanted to sell, you called John.
Mhm.
Because John would pay money for a dog if it was worth it, and he would be able to make money on it.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of different for me because he's just always been there.
Right.
But then I got to remember that somebody that's hunted Finley River dogs out west,
It's a big
John's
deal.
a big deal.
It is a big,
John's
like
a big
for
deal.
us, that's
Yeah.
a big deal
That's
because
right.
that's what, when we started, it was all Finley River bred and Cameron Walker crosses.
Yeah.
Like that was the ticket for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And it is a big deal because it's funny, like that generational gap, the young guys out on the West side, a lot of them don't know the dogs and why
where
they
they
are
came
what
from.
they are
Yeah.
and where they
Yeah.
came from,
Yeah.
when Mears was bringing dogs out
Yeah.
west. I mean, that's why we had the dogs that we
Yeah.
had, and it's tied in, and it's still the same blood running through them.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in between, but you
Yeah.
go back to it, like we wouldn't have what we have without the decades of work these guys have put in night after night after night after night.
There's some things that both worlds, even the squirrel dog world in the setter world and all that stuff. That's why I think the Hunting Dog Media Alliance.
There you go.
I think where that's important because we can bring all these working dogs into one umbrella, and you can help with that because there's a lot of good knowledge in all those bases that can help somebody who's just a niche guy like me. I purely want a competition coon hound that's a dead loner and has its coons, and that's all I want.
Yep.
I don't care about all that other stuff, but there's resources in that world that could help me get that that we don't look at.
The big thing, I mean, really is the writers that write for us. There's no reason they couldn't be writing for other magazines,
And that's the other
photographers.
We want to take guys that are like us that are creating hound media, and instead of just creating hound media in our space, which it's a circle. Like you've said it before, like we spend our money with these guys, and it's all circular.
Yep.
There's nothing beyond here. We want to take guys that are in our space and be able to push that content what they're creating outside, but then we also want people outside of our space to come in and kind of teach us how to elevate it. Because I would say, you've said it for years, we're always behind.
10 years.
So we need to take out what we're producing as far as podcasts, photos, articles, YouTube videos, whatever it is, and we need to be at the level of the bird dog guys. We need to be at the level of the meat eater. We need to get there. And so how do we get there? And that's just trying to get us on par with other hunting content.
And by the time we get there, they're still above us, if we don't close that gap.
And then hunting content is still typically behind regular media.
Yeah.
So it's like we're behind hunting media, and hunting media is behind. So it's like that's what I'm trying to say.
There's no meat eater without Rogan. There's none of that. The mainstream media comes first, and it's not really mainstream, but the other media sources come first. People were watching SportsCenter way before they were watching Cane Stream Live.
Yeah.
So we're right. There's steps in between the top and where we're at, but you guys hopefully through that, hopefully close that gap a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, I got a videographer flying in tonight. I got to pick up the airport because I can't run a camera.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's like, he's not a hound dogger.
Yeah.
But he's done a lot of filming, and it's like, that's kind of what sparked it too. And then you and I have been talking about it for a long time, and some others in the industry that, we just knew we needed to bring elevation to it, and a rising tide raises all ships.
Yeah.
That's why we all don't hate each other, believe it or not.
Exactly.
Don't let that secret out, but we all kind of like each other.
And hiring a videographer and stuff, sometimes, like for me, it's difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Ask Ben. You can't get good shots easily when you've got dogs walking through the woods in the dark. You're what do we do? Probably 5 miles in that cast at the super hunt. 4 miles.
And at the same point, it's so fast, and especially from a videographer standpoint, I see both sides of it. I've been on plenty of casts, so I know how a cast is run.
Exactly.
But at the same point, a videographer wants to stop. They want to structure things.
Oh, yeah.
They want to have the light set up, and it's like
That's
can't
not how
do.
There ain't no time for
It's
that.
you're
You're an hour.
You're running gunning here.
Told you before the hunt, don't sacrifice catching something because it may not be a good shot. It can't. They're not all going to be perfect. Very, very few of it, little of it's going to be perfect. But you got to make sure and catch everything. And so to hire an outside videographer, that's why Ben comes down, is because he's got experience in the woods with hounds at dark, stuff like that. We got to have that.
And it's
And
hard
there
to
ain't very
find
many of
somebody.
those.
Well, just finding somebody that can do that within our niche who understands it is hard. That's what Ben does a great job, because nighttime photos are bad enough on their own, then you throw a dog who never cooperates.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big difference.
Yes.
And I've tried it, Danny gets mad at me all the time. Did you get pictures? No, I was hunting.
Pictures are the worst.
I
can get video, but I can't get pictures. Ben gets down there and he's in and I'm over here, and he's wanting to take pictures of Hazel at the end of that. We were hunting before the super hunt the other night. I'm like, dude.
He's like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And what picture have you used a bunch?
I know. I've used
that picture of Hazel a
bunch. As soon as I got it and put it on my Facebook, he's like, I told you you wanted it. Told you wanted it.
But you got to have people there that understand. I know bringing in a new guy on this, it's a learning experience, because this is a whole different. This is all Greek.
We have a great media guy, Nick, in the office. And we took him down the first super hunt. And he was just like, he's riding on the back of a Ranger trying to hold this camera. He's getting ready to fall off. And I looked at him. I was like, Nick, Is this where you envisioned yourself when you came out of college? He goes,
No, not at all.
What am I doing down here in East Texas in the middle of the woods
Right?
in knee-deep water holding this camera? He's like, I'm not out. I'm out.
Yeah.
You know?
It
So
takes
this year when we
special
hired
breed.
Ben and Nick didn't have to come, he was not disappointed. You know, it just ain't his thing.
It's not everybody.
There was
Yeah.
somebody that worked for UKC, and last year when I was here, he no longer works for him, but he was one of their media people. And I said something about going out on the final cast. He goes, "No, you're going." He goes, "You said you were going." He goes, "I'm not going now." He's like, "No thanks." And I
It's
just laughed.
not-
I was like, "It's
yeah.
really not that bad."
No, it's not, especially in the finals of like a World Run or something like that. You got so much support structure around you. There's handlers everywhere.
But we love it.
Oh yeah,
I mean, right? Like we're gonna be there with a camera or without.
Yeah,
So I mean,
exactly.
it's like
exactly.
know what you know it well.
Yeah.
Let the rest. Like honestly, it's
I see the crowd filing in for the walk-up entries. I said that's the duels.
This is for the
tonight.
duels.
they figured out there's air conditioning.
Yes,
here.
yes, it's finally getting crowded. in
Alan
here.
opened the door, so they're finally coming in.
But no, I'll let you guys go. I appreciate you sitting down with me.
Thank you.
You guys
Thank you.
check out
Appreciate it.
Tree Talking Media, Mr. Ben Sheets. Check out Full Cry, W Podcast, all that stuff. You guys do a short podcast now for Full Cry too, right?
Yeah, so we launching on the W Hunt
Yeah,
Supply
yeah.
podcast.
It's on that
but
same feed.
We do vintage readings. 'Cause
Awesome.
We're really working on digitizing the old,
Yep.
like 30s,
Yep.
40s, 50s.
Yep.
And so we're just doing readings of them and putting
Oh, yeah,
them
that's
up. And
cool.
they're like
It's pretty cool.
5-10
Small
minutes.
old
They're short,
articles.
you
Yeah,
know.
that
But
is cool.
like this last one, it comes out tomorrow, I think. It was Estelle Walker's
Yeah.
tribute to House's Bali.
Oh yeah, cool.
You know, so
Yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like we're trying to find old
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's
No,
I like
love-
it. I don't know if
Like you
anybody
find
else
an old
does.
Joy ad, you always text it to me. And
I know,
stuff. Those
yeah.
things are cool. I mean, I love that stuff. I really
It
do.
is pretty cool.
Especially, I'm diving into these top 10 lists. For walkers, I'm working on the blue tick list right now. We're working on handlers,
Right?
everything from best performances in a world hunt, final, all that stuff. Trevor's been helping me from UKC, Christy Denny with PKC, but I've really been diving deep into history that I'm not normally
Mhm.
familiar with or interested in. Like I didn't care about the history of blue ticks. Don't get me wrong, but now that I'm in it and I keep getting deeper, I'm like, this is pretty neat.
We got
This is
some
pretty
school
cool.
books for
And
you.
Dave Dean has the absolute best Autumn Oaks picture when he won it with Hammer
Mhm.
3 that I've ever seen. He looks like he just came from a Fall Cat concert.
Yep.
He's got his sunglasses on,
Yep.
his big cowboy
Big
hat.
hat.
And I'm just like, that dude's cool.
I wish I could have met Dave.
Yeah.
Like, that's one cool
That dude's
dude.
cool. So, yeah. But yeah, I'll let you guys go. I know crowd's filing in. You guys
Yeah.
probably have some action at your booth. But
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for everything you guys are doing. And
Appreciate it.
we'll hang out. We're going to go, maybe later on tonight, we'll go get some supper or something.
Sounds good.
Yeah, rehydrate.
As hot as it is, yep.
Yes. All right. Oh, Mr. Jackson, how's the Raven dog bred? She is out of Duds and Bella. And she is a 5-year-old. So
You got
hope that answers that
comments?
question.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got
Please.
comments.
This
All
is high
right.
tech for me.
it is.
Thank you guys. Ben Sheets,
Thank you.
Jason Duby. Appreciate everybody watching, and we'll see you soon.